Hello and welcome to Starcast from Planet Waves. I'm Eric Francis Coppolino, your friendly neighborhood astrologer here with the edition for the 12th of June, 2025. This edition accompanies the subscriber materials that also are going out at the same time as this edition. That would be the Planet Waves horoscope and my article on the approaching solstice and Cancer new moon. I know we're a little bit ahead of that, but these are significant events, and I think a little bit of, foreshadowing is important, is helpful, so that we can think ahead a little bit about what this is about. The big deal about this sun entering Cancer, which is typically another seasonal change, but this is a bit special because the sun will be making a conjunction to Jupiter in Cancer and making a square to Saturn and to Neptune. So the sun jumps onto the cardinal cross and makes aspects to the whole thing going on there, and there is plenty. And then this story will hold as the sun moves through Cancer and then approaches the square, a square to Eris and to Chiron. More on that in a minute. Before we go too much further, I want to just do a couple of house announcements. One is that I will be teaching a class on the 11th of July, and that class is Born in the 60s. Did I say the 11th? That would be the 12th on a Saturday, 1 month from today. And this is a class for, first of all, anyone born in the 1960s. That's quite a few of my current readers and subscribers who are born in, Gen X, basically, is what it comes down to. So we might call this Gen X astrology. I guess I should do another promo calling it Gen X astrology. And this is also for those who are interested in learning astrology as well. So it'll be a class that is looking at two historical events and two people. The historical events will be the JFK assassination from 1963 and the Woodstock Festival from 1969, a mere 6 years later. Isn't that weird? And then we'll be looking at the natal charts of Tom York and Sinead O'Connor to give us a sense of how this astrology manifests in people. And we'll have a lot to say about that, and we will take our first foray into generational astrology. Also, I'm working on the mid-year reading called Easy Does It. This covers all of the gas giants changing signs right around the same time, sign changes of Saturn, Neptune, Uranus, and Jupiter, all around the same time, happening now. So this is a big moment in the course of our lives, and that is what this is going to be about, and I will be developing my Let the Astrology Do the Work theory. Okay, so today is the 12th. Right now, at the moment, the sun is square the Centaur planet Nessus, and tomorrow it will be square the lunar nose. When you hear me say the word square, it's not a guy with nerdy glasses on and a slide rule in his pocket. Or someone sitting in a folding chair tapping his feet while everyone else is dancing. A square is the kind of dynamic aspect that holds up the reality that we perceive. It is the aspect of a kind of maximum intensity. Now, tables stand up pretty good, buildings stand up pretty good, but there's something called a geodesic dome, which is based on pentagrams and hexagrams. And so there's a lot of high integrity kinds of aspects, right? That would be quintiles and sextiles, right? And the pentagrams and the hexagrams. So a square is only one kind of integrity. But from our viewpoint here in mortal bodies, living in society, a square is pretty important, and it has a lot to do with the actions that we take and whether those actions are compelled or we take them voluntarily. In any event, this combination of Sun, Nessus, and the lunar nodes may be irritating. It may be a bit agitating in that you might have some expectation that some other shoe is going to drop or something is going to happen, that there might be some result of past transgressions of some kind, or past errors made, or things done to people. And I will say this: it is never too late to make amends. It's never too late to call someone up and apologize if you feel like you've done something to them. You may have hurt them. You may have felt like you've hurt them, and it's I think a good thing when people acknowledge something that they may have done to someone else. So keep that in mind as this aspect passes. Sun square the nodes is particularly potent. Can come with a feeling of instability, and that combined with Nessus just has me a little concerned for those people who are not feeling all that stable to begin with, and that is a good few people right now. And I think also there are many people who are not feeling that stable, not feeling that trusting, but they don't put that into words. They don't say so, and they don't want to let on that they may not be feeling good. They may not let on that they are afraid. I think there's a lot of unspoken fear going on right now. That's something that's concerning me, is how much there is going wrong in the world, and yet we're all just kind of acting like everything is normal, and like this level of ridiculous intensity of and rapid sequence of events is just something that is perfectly normal or acceptable. And I think that we need to open up a little bit more about how we are feeling, and let off some of this pressure, because the pressure is just I think for many people getting to be too much. I mean, I'm pretty strong and resilient, and I feel it a lot of the times, and it makes me concerned about those who have less resiliency and less capacity to process experience at this speed. And look, the world is a very frightening place right now. I mean, it just is. And I think that fear, while I'm not sure that the word justified is right, I certainly understand it, and I think that we need to make friends with this to some degree and allow the fear to have a voice. In Hakomi therapy training, one of the things we were taught is to let the fear speak first. And in the world right now, we really don't let the fear speak at all. Okay, so that's a little bit of Sun square the nodes with Nessus involved. That's a little bit eclipsy, a little bit point of no return. Now the Sun comes out of that rather quickly, and then over the weekend and into next week is picking up the Chiron Eris conjunction, and this is likely to feel more stable, more usable, and you may have a sense that there is actually a strategy that you can apply. Okay, so now let's look ahead at the solstice, which takes place a week from Friday. So it's really not that far away anyway. And this let's see, in this chart, I'm looking at, well, if you cast it locally for the Hudson Valley, we've got Pluto rising. But the thing about this chart is, I think that stands out the most is that, first of all, there's a seasonal change, and that's always worth tracking. It's worth putting a pin in the map and about where you are in life and how you're doing and what what you're thinking and where you're at with your various goals and things like that. And then what happens is that the Sun amplifies this collection of points that are gathered on the cardinal cross, and that is quite a few points. I went over them, I think, in a special edition Starcast on Sunday night. But the big players are Saturn, Neptune in Aries, along with Borisisi in Aries, and then the Sun and Jupiter in Cancer, along with Chaos in Cancer, Chaos being one of the creation deities of Greek mythology. And so there's a lot of other stuff in the very early cardinal signs. And so we effectively have a grand cross on the Aries point. So that is significant. And as the season changes, we have Venus right in the midpoint of Taurus. And so that's Venus in Taurus, very strong placement. And of course, the midpoint of Taurus is also the midpoint of the spring equinox and the summer solstice. So by virtue of that, Venus too is amplified. And Venus may be the point of resolution in this very complicated situation on the Aries point, which is basically, love and take care of yourself and take care of people around you. And you remember that you are taking care of yourself so that you can take care of other people. Make sure that you put your oxygen mask on before you put on the ones of those around you, so you don't black out while you're trying to help them and that kind of thing. Okay, so this is part of an amplification effect, and we're seeing a lot of things going on in the world that easily could go out of control. I mean, and when I say that there's that fear is totally understandable, I'm saying that fear is totally understandable, and it right now, just given the state of affairs. So, for example, one of the world's most sophisticated airliner, the Boeing 787 or 787, the Dreamliner, the newest addition to the Boeing line, just basically fell out of the sky in India en route to London. This is a big deal. This is supposed to be kind of the perfect airplane, and it's had a lot of problems. And so what these things probably cost $1 billion a throw, and it just fell out of the sky. Well, that's nerve-wracking. I think if I were anybody planning to take an airplane trip, should check with their astrologer and make sure that they're scheduling the flight for the ideal time. And then, as if that was not enough, we have Israel getting ready to bomb Iran. I mean, this has been the wet dream of Israel and American conservatives going back basically forever. The old joke, the song "Bomb Iran, bomb Iran." Remember that? Well, now they are actually talking about bombing Iran. So, why is this a good idea? Why is this necessary? But this is in the works, and that if Israel's going to do it, the United States is behind it. And so finally, there have been all these wars in the Persian Gulf going back now 35 years, starting in late 90, early 91, Bush War I, and then Bush War II in 2001 starting, and then and there was the bombing continued. The bombing of Iraq continued between 91 and 2001, never stopped. And so there's been a continuous war in West Asia for as long as any of us can remember, and now the kind of the ultimate thing is to bomb Iran, and this is now being planned. And so there are many other wars going on in the world, and any of these has the potential to basically be spun into some bigger thing. And then meanwhile, protests against these ice raids don't look like they are stopping anytime soon. And Texas just deployed 5,000 guardsmen. So I don't like these excuses. So they do these raids, then they of course get protests, and then they move in another 5,000 guardsmen. This is done 5,000 in LA, 5,000 in guardsmen plus 700 Marines, and then 5,000 in Texas. They're not supposed to be using the military to police the civilian population. This is this concept posse comitatus is important, and I know they have a workaround. I've checked in with the right sources, and they have their legal justification for doing this. But what we end up with in any event is you end up with the military on the streets of civilian areas in the United States, which is supposed to be like almost all of the United States, and we don't want to get accustomed to this. I think that it's not the right thing, and we are just seeing escalation after escalation, and so the sun mounting the cardinal cross could result in or describe, let's say, more escalation. So the thing is that, in these weird, intense times when there are all kinds of threats, I think that it is necessary to enjoy your life. That's not easy even when there are all of these threats. These completely convenient labor-saving computers seem to have turned us all into basically slaves of the robot, now working 14 hours a day. Anybody who had a job like in 1970 would be completely astounded. They would have to take their whole job with them in their pocket and possibly be at work 24 hours a day, and except for the few hours that they might be sleeping. So we're under a lot of stress as it is, and the idea that you might spend time with loved ones and or take care of your body or rest or go somewhere. This seems to be a thing that's now being relegated to the ultra rich that we read about in TMZ when somebody's paparazzi photos of them in a new bathing suit show up on page one of whatever TMZ or the New York Post or something like that. And it seems like any notion of leisure is being kicked up to the millionaire, billionaire, trillionaire class. And what I'm suggesting here is that we need to give ourselves a break and pace our lives. And I think that we're at a point where much more reevaluation is called for of the entire way that we are living, even though we have been dragged into this, over and over again. We have been dragged into this one device at a time, one incursion at a time, one robot stalking and tracking us at a time, and now here we find ourselves here, and it's like never too late to stop and evaluate. Now, this chart describes that in that stopping, evaluating, and considering, some wholesome creature comforts and this idea that's going to become real popular, which is like making your own coffee and making your own food. I mean, I've even seen memes joking about this, that people are going to realize that it's actually possible to make a cup of coffee at home. And there's YouTubes about it. You can actually find out on YouTube how to actually make a cup of coffee. It's remarkably similar. It has to get into the cup, and then you depending on how you like it, you might add milk or half and half and sugar or something like that, and it's quite similar. And I think that I would be all in favor of a home cooking, home coffee trend, and I suspect that much of the allure of getting out of the house for the coffee or the food involves being around other people, which doesn't usually work out so good anyway, because when you're sitting in a Starbucks sipping your $6 a cup coffee, most people aren't going to talk to you. They're all hooked into their gadgets and gizmos, and these are not very social places anyway. Plus, really, why are we paying $6 a cup of coffee for the illusion of socializing when we can actually find some place to do it? The problem here is that not everyone is especially interested in socializing. So you got to find the people who are. But back to my theory about Venus, right at the Beltane point. Venus is right at the midpoint, 1521 Taurus, when the sun enters Cancer. So this is an example of a midpoint. It's also an example of a planet activating the Aries point from yet another angle, and that's in play. And so Venus in Taurus, it appreciates some peace and quiet. It appreciates a couple of trees here and there, maybe taking care of your plants, your garden, changing your sheets or something like this. Now, opposite across the dial from Venus is Juno retrograde in Scorpio. So Juno retrograde in Scorpio, somewhat like you could say the shadow side of Venus in Taurus. So Juno retrograde in Scorpio is going to be a little itchy and scratchy, and a bit resentful. And so this is the thing I don't think that a lot of people have thought through. which is that resentment is an option. And it has become this kind of go-to emotion, this go-to self-validating emotion. Because, of course, if you're resentful, then you've got something to be resentful about, which only allows you to be more resentful. And eventually you live like this and your organs burn out. I mean, that's really what happens. You start to hear about, that person's spleen and that person's pancreas and all that. This kind of organ burnout has a lot to do with emotional attitudes and emotional values. And I don't really hear anybody talking about virtue, talking about forgiveness, talking about kindness. Everything you're hearing is about like my worth. If I hear another person say my worth, I'm going to scream. What is worth? Like what are you basing that on? Like, what's the scale? Like, who did the calculation? Does your accountant agree? And that phrase, my worth, has a lot of resentment built into it. And like, I think that certainly on the level of friendship and helping out one's neighbors and one's brothers and sisters in a non-business context, we need to be more generous and as well as more forgiving and I think more questioning of resentment. Okay, so while all this is going on, let's see where we've got. Oh, this is interesting. Mr. Mercury. I'm looking at next week's charts, but still, Mr. Mercury. Well, it's actually Mr., Ms., Miss. He, she, it, they, them. Mercury is in early Cancer, and as of now, and what's going to happen is that Mercury is going to move through the family Hunger Games pattern imminently, like today, tomorrow, this weekend, into Monday, and that may stir the pot on what some of this family Hunger Games business is, and that to me is just a lot of unresolved generational mashup and struggle that just gets passed down to us. And frankly, a lot of our problems are much more about our parents, grandparents, and great-grandparents than they are about us. The estimates can go quite high. How much of the karma that we are dealing with in life actually belongs to the immediately prior generations? And I think this is as good a time as any to question that and to not feel like we have to be trapped in that, to not feel like it is some kind of a requirement or necessity. That said, it will be fairly easy to get caught up in that kind of business with Mercury opposite Pholus, Quaoar, Ixion, and Cupido, among others. And this is a suggestion to be careful what you take on and be careful what you reflect. And the whole thing that I think we need to get a grip on is how important it is that we set an example for other people, especially anyone who takes any pretense or pretext of any form of superiority, moral or otherwise. If indeed you are somehow superior, then the way you would express that is you would set a good and loving, virtuous, wholesome example and seek understanding rather than something like accusation. That's my message for you on this Thursday afternoon. Just a reminder, check out the promo stuff for Easy Does It. This is going to be a juicy video reading recorded here, the first video project done here at the Harshaw House, and as well as the Born in the 60s class. We will be continuing these classes through the various decades, assuming people are interested. I suspect there might be some interest. Thank you to my subscribers who help pay for this project and all the people who help out and make this possible. Thank you to my readers and my listeners. Signing off from the Harshaw House, deep in the Catskill Mountains, I'm Eric Francis. Lots of love, and bye for now.